Some days ago, Pope Francis, along with two other main leaders in Christianity, came together for a joint message on the climate. Do you want to know why this is significant for Bible prophecy? Keep watching to find out. Thanks for joining this episode of Prophecy Live. Listen to the cry of the earth, they said, as they call for action from the world leaders and all inhabitants of the world. This joint statement is made by Pope Francis, Ecumenical Patriarch Bartholomew, and Archbishop Welby of Canterbury. Just for the record, let's quickly look at how influential these leaders are. Pope Francis is, as you know, the head of the Roman Catholic Church, which has 1.3 billion members. Bartholomew is the spiritual leader of the Orthodox Church, with about 220 million members. And Welby is the senior bishop of the worldwide Anglican Communion, which has about 85 million members. The joint message for the protection of creation is a call against climate change. They state, as world leaders prepare to meet in November at Glasgow to deliberate on the future of our planet, we pray for them and consider that the choices we must all make. Accordingly, as leaders of our churches, we call on everyone, whatever their belief or worldview, to endeavor to listen to the cry of the earth and of people who are poor, examining their behavior and pledging meaningful sacrifices for the sake of the earth which God has given us. Pope Francis has taken a clear stand and made appeals before on this topic. In his famous encyclical from 2015, Pope Francis addressed a message to every person living on this planet, urging us to make improvements for the climate, and this was from the encyclical Laudato Si. One of his solutions for this was to keep Sunday as a way of healing, quote, our relationships with God, with ourselves, with others, and with the world, end quote. Furthermore, he said that Sunday, quote, motivates us to greater concern for nature and the poor, end quote. Since then, he has kept calling the world to come together. For many Bible students, what is happening in the world today are clear signs of Jesus' soon coming. The first beast of Revelation 13, the Antichrist, represents no other than the Catholic Church. No other system or person fulfills all the criteria that the Bible gives. It is prophesied that this power will be instrumental in uniting the world. Looking at the great authority this power has gained the last century, this prophecy is getting closer to its complete fulfillment. Back to the joint statement recently made here. Interestingly, it goes on to say, over the course of the pandemic, we have learned how vulnerable we are. Our social systems frayed, and we are found that we cannot control everything. We must acknowledge that the ways we use money and organize our societies have not benefited everyone. We find ourselves weak and anxious, submerged in a series of crises: health, environmental, food, economic, and social, which are all deeply interconnected. In other words, they call for the need of a reformation connected with money and organization of the world. As prophecy states, the day is at hand when all the world marveled and followed the beast, which Revelation chapter 13 verse 3 states. Later in the same chapter, this prophecy is indicating a control over economy and business, as one will only be able to buy and sell if you receive the mark of the beast. And guess what? These guys want change. They want change now. So what do these Christian leaders suggest? They say, but this involves making changes. Each of us individually must take responsibility for the way we use our resources. This path requires an ever closer collaboration among all churches in their commitment to care for creation. Together, as communities, churches, cities, and nations, we must change routes and discover new ways of working together to break down the traditional barriers between peoples, to stop competing for resources and start collaborating. This is a clear call to all world leaders, to all nations and people to come together and act. And it's significant that it comes through a joint statement by 3 of the world's biggest Christian leaders. And it continues saying, this is the first time the 3 of us feel compelled to address together the urgency of environmental sustainability, its impact on persistent poverty, and the importance of global cooperation. Together, on behalf of our communities, we appeal to the heart and mind of every Christian, every believer, and every person of goodwill. We pray for our leaders, who will gather in Glasgow to decide the future of our planet and its people. All of us, whoever and wherever we are, can play a part in changing our collective response to the unprecedented threat of climate change and environmental degradation. Now, I agree that we need to take care of the earth that God has given to us. Nevertheless, only on God's premises. In the Pope's climate agenda, he includes the keeping of Sunday. He's actually not alone in this. There are climate initiatives that support this idea, and I have a big problem with this. I will give you one example from a Catholic source here. It states Protestants accept Sunday rather than Saturday as the day for public worship after the Catholic Church made a change. But the Protestant mind does not seem to realize that in observing Sunday, they are accepting the authority of the spokesman of the Church, the Pope. This is from Our Sunday Visitor, February 5th, 1950. In fact, to Catholics, Sunday keeping is their mark of our authority. They say, of course, the Catholic Church claims that the change was her act, and the act is a mark of her ecclesiastical power and authority in religious matters. Very interesting statement here from the Catholic Church themselves. And the world will be forced into false worship. The persecutions that this prophetic power did through the Dark Ages will be repeated again in the future. Revelation 13 makes that clear, contrary to God's 10 commandments, as the mark of the beast is being set up. Only a small group will remain faithful to God. Those who refuse will finally not be able to buy or sell. Ultimately, they will be threatened with death. Do you wonder what the mark of the beast will be? When it will be mandated? Well, this power has just admitted it themselves. They said that their mark is the institution of Sunday as a day of rest. The 10 Commandments are telling us that God made the 7th day holy, the Sabbath, or Saturday. This is the only commandment where God said, remember. The 7th day in several countries are still actually Saturday today. Other countries, like mine, have changed the 7th day to be Sunday. and this only within the last decade, so it's fairly new. And you know what? God calls his Sabbath a sign between himself and his people. You can read about that, for example, in Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 12. In the book of Revelation, God makes it clear that his commandments are still valid. And the fourth commandment tells us to remember to keep the Sabbath holy. This makes it a loyalty issue. Revelation 14, verse 12 says, "Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus." Who do you obey? People of the world or God himself? Do not be fooled. This is only the beginning. Hold fast to the faith of Jesus. Please check below for our free offer and remember to subscribe for more videos like this.